I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Yes, sir.
If you'll call roll, please.
The special call Finance Committee meeting, budget hearing for September 9th at 4:30. Dr. Jones,
Here.
Counselor Gwaltney, Counselor Alamond, Counselor Smith. Was Counselor Smith? Because she's here. And Counselor Harden. So absent, we have Gwaltney, Alamond is absent.
No,
and,
we know Ms. Smith is here.
and Harden. But
Alamond's en route.
okay.
All right.
Is here, but
Okay.
But right now, you only have 2 present, so you just can't make a motion, but
Yeah, yeah, let's start working
I'll
on
go
it.
get it. Just
And
give me 1
we
second.
won't do any
Thank you. Happy birthday treat too.
and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Burgett has
You
some
talking about for the budget
updated.
hearing?
Yeah, you haven't done that with everybody's book, have you?
I just
Okay.
you with your sins.
Okay, so what he's updating is under the general fund, the reports were, as of July 31st, as we made note, and so to be consistent with everything on every fund, we got that updated to June 30th, so we can see that. So so if when you get here, see Mr. Burgett, and he'll replace that for you. Okay, thank you for everyone's attention today. What we're going to do is do the best we can in going through the general fund, and if we always say if we can get through the general fund, we will move to capital, and I don't know if we're going to get that. Chief Hill has some information he'll share with us if we get to capital. He has the wonderful 20-year rolling plan for all of his, which I love that. I mean, that just makes me feel happy all over. And so if we get to that, we will. But I want to go ahead and get started. So we're going to start in the general fund behind tab 3. And we have already gone over revenues, so we will move on to page 3, and I'll also remind everyone. So we're skipping revenue because we've already approved revenue in our meeting on Tuesday night. So we're not going to also be going over personnel services or anything like that, because we're going to have a dedicated night to going over any kind of changes for employees and all of that. So we're not going to cover that under the general fund tonight. So we're mainly going to start down there on page 3 at contractual services, and this is under general, in the general fund administrative department, fund 10. So are there any questions on any of those? Mainly it's the maintenance contracts. It's pretty consistent with what we have. And again, these numbers under the current actual are as of June 30th now, so instead of July. So you can see what we have budgeted here. We're a little bit over, Mr. Burgett, on that line item. So we're going to need to we'll have a budget amendment for those contractual services.
That's 0111 Travel and Conference.
Is that correct? I'm reading that correctly?
We may be able to have to look at it, because that's where we paid the fee out of too, and then we had a couple of.
No, that's not under contractual services here.
I thought he just said you were talking about travel and conference. Are you talking
No,
about
I'm
contractual service?
I'm on page 3, contractual services, under administrative.
All right, let me look.
So we
Contractual services.
budgeted 38,288, and the actual right now through June 30th is 39,065. And we might have to, that might be a takeaway.
And which number are you on? 0110 what? 540900, or you want 520400? I'm sorry, not
I
following.
want 5409.
540900.
Yeah, maintenance contracts.
Okay, yeah, I see now where we're at 38 and then we're at 39.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'll
And the
have-
total,
I think it's Iron Mountain, you know, we're trying to get out of Iron Mountain, but they had a price increase, so we'll probably have to do, you know, we'll do a housekeeping budget amendment at year end. But I think it's not Iron Mountain because they had a price increase where we have those files stored monthly.
Yeah.
But we're trying to, you know, as soon as we can take a breather, we're gonna try to go get out of that. But I will tell you, Robert Kelly did some research on it, and Cammy and Robert and I looked at it. And because Mr. Harden talked about it when he reviewed bills,
Sure.
we're gonna need a big budget amendment, because we're gonna take a one-time hit for them, but even if they pull the files and we pick them up, we can't pull the files. So it's like, we're gonna take a hit, and then we can stop the monthly bleed. But we've been waiting till we could deal with it, but we're going, it's good, it's many $1,000s for them to pull it, even if our employees can pick it up.
Okay, so let me ask this, because I know they store stuff, and how many years of storage do we have over there?
I have never accessed it personally
We've
since
got,
I've been here.
we've got, there's boxes that are labeled Christmas decorations, 1968. over there.
Nice, okay, so,
Beautification board will take that.
yeah, so when we do that, when we,
But even if we get them to destroy, they gave us like 3 different prices, and not, like when Kelly told us what the prices are, she made me and Robert sit down.
yeah,
Because, and you know, you talked about this Iron Mountain, like once you get in, you almost can't get out. But, even if they destroy them, we've got this one big fee. If they pull them and we pick them up and take them to like a shredded place, it's this fee, because we found a really good shredded.
okay, but hold on a second. What I'm struggling with is we know what the contracts are at the beginning of the fiscal year. We know what the annual amount that each of these
And
vendors
we're not really
is
under
going
a
to.
3-year contract with them, we just been, it's like, we're not, we hadn't rebid that out in a long time, because we can't get our files, and they gave us a notice that they were having a price increase, like they did when fuel
But
goes up.
do we not review each contract that we have here, and then based on that contract, be able to estimate what the annual amount is?
Well, that's what I'm telling you, when we did this year's budget, we based it off what, but they sent us notice out that they were having a price increase.
So there was
After the
there was a
fact.
bid after the fact.
Yeah, they sent a notice out, because we're
Okay.
almost like month to month, unless you wanna pull your files, and they said, they give you notice and say, hey, effective this date, we're having this price increase. Or
Okay.
if we send more files down, I don't know if inspection, those have some, inspections, I think they have some police is trying to get theirs out and do the same thing. But we're trying to get that, move away from that totally, but we're going to come back to probably y'all during the budget for the new budget year and do an amendment to just take that one hit and then get out of it.
okay, but when we get the stuff out of there, I know a lot of it will be destroyed, but I'm assuming there will be some of it that will have to be kept.
Possibly, we're trying to look at cheaper alternatives,
Okay.
like maybe just renting a storage facility or, you know, we're looking at something that's much cheaper.
Yes, right, yes.
Okay, let the record reflect, we have Counselor Alaman and Harden.
Yes,
that
sir,
are-
I got it here. Thank
That
you,
are
sir.
here, so
You have a quorum
we
now.
have a quorum now.
I was just trying to explain to you why we were over for this year, but I'm pretty sure it's Iron Mountain, but I will get back to y'all on Tuesday, so that's not
Okay,
my
I mean, I'm
department.
just, the
Yeah.
reason I ask, I'd like to be as tight as we can on this, so if we know that 4 of these contracts are gonna have to be rebid during the year, during the fiscal year, then we need to maybe put, some additional funds to cover that.
We went up to 49,000, but we were hoping not to be with them for 12 months, but we're gonna have to come to y'all with a big flat fee to get out of it.
Okay.
And then we would
Yeah.
save the 12 months.
So we're behind tab 3, and if both of you can hand your budget books to Mr. Burgett, he's gonna get you some updated numbers so you have to give up your budget. Sorry, Mr. Harden. Okay, well, I've said we would breeze through this, and we're stuck on the first one. So are there any questions?
I was just
on-
trying to answer your
Any
questions,
additional
sir.
questions on page 3 behind tab 3? Okay. Moving on, I don't think, when we get to each department, I don't really think there should be even any discussion on fuels and lubricants and power bills and things like that, because the mayor did the best job he could in working with each department head to come up with this. We know that those have increased. But I don't have the expertise to determine, is this the right amount? So all of that's been vetted out, but I just wanted to mention that. Okay, then we've got here still under administrative on page 4, you see tuition, other items there. Are there any questions on that?
I have a question.
Sure.
On the tuitions in schools, it says current actuals, am I wrong, 656?
Yep, that's what it is through June 30th. And
Right.
do we have any,
That's because I finished my MBA in August of 20 and only had like 2 classes, but I've got a couple of staff members that want to go next year related to their job
Okay.
and take some accounting classes. And I've got a couple of 3 accounting classes that I'm taking one this time.
Yeah.
And, you're gonna fix to see about $2,000 added to it, but, I didn't take much with the election and then I finished my degree.
Right.
And Bo finished his degree, I think the year before, but I do have 2 people that are still working, or they're fixing to start on their degrees.
So 60, we had, for this year, we budgeted 6,500, and like you said, even if you're 2,000 kids, that's still gonna only be 2,600. Is 6,500 too much, or do you want us to leave it at that, because we don't know yet what those other employees, how much those.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all feel comfortable, I'd like to leave it because, I mean, we're not gonna use it unless it's something relative to their job, but, I do, like I said, I do have 2, including myself with a few, that are gonna use it, and, I don't know how many classes they're gonna take, but if we don't need it,
No, I mean, I just was curious, because even when you said like if you're 2,000 under debt, that's still almost $44,000 under the budget amount, but.
yeah, that was because I only take those 2 mini terms and I finished my MBA, and that was one of the reasons. And then boats, if you look, last year it was $3,600, but Bo had finished his too.
Yeah.
But, I've got a couple people wanting to take some accounting, pursue their accounting degree. But, I mean, if y'all want to take it down.
No, I was just
Yeah.
curious.
all right. Okay, moving, any other questions on page 4? Okay, we're moving down to general government. And you can see under professional services, under there, contractual services, there is an increase here. One thing that kind of stands out is, to me, is the recycling. And I know we're working on, ways that we can limit that, but that, I remember when we first bid that out, the cost, and we're more than double, almost triple what that amount was for recycling.
And we would, and Jennifer can comment on this too. First of all, our contract with Republic expires in December 31st of this year, and we have been told that they're not interested in continuing that contract. And part of the reason we have a lot of excess cost is because we have incredible amounts of spoilage, or what do you call it? Just contamination, because people just
Yes.
aren't doing it correctly.
And we've educated till we're blue in the face.
Yeah, and it
That's
doesn't,
not the
I mean, I drove by somebody, I have said, do not put plastic bags in your recycling so many times that I feel like it's like white noise, because I drove somebody on literally my next door neighbor, and there was just a giant stack of plastic bags, and then I was like, okay, great, well, that didn't work.
Okay.
So yes, we are exploring other options. Jennifer, I don't know if you want to.
No, I was gonna see if Berkeley wanted to speak to anything about that, because I know the wheels need to be turning now if we're up at the end of December, right?
Yeah, I mean, right now, there's only 1 or 2 companies that's even
Right.
Right.
discussing doing recycling. And
So would we put out like an RFP or,
yeah, I mean, we were waiting until after the 17th of September, and then we'll be able to see what's, with Solid Waste Authority, to see what's available at that point.
Because won't that will help us to not have to bid, correct?
correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
which could make the
Correct.
process at least a little bit
Yes, that's correct.
easier. And hopefully save some money.
so maybe we can't talk about this number right now, right? Because that number was probably gonna look different, right?
Yeah, we may have to, that might have to be a number that we come back to.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would ask you, unless, Dr. Jones, if you would, we'll come back after the 17th on on that number, because I think by then we'll have a little bit better.
Okay,
idea of where
so let's put a
things stand.
placeholder by that. It's broken out this way because it's through 3 months, and then starting in January, that the number 346 is there. So that's kind of why it's in two different.
And Dr. Jones, that's the one I talked to you about earlier when we were in Robert's office. If you look, we're over budget, but we told y'all we might have to come back to y'all and do that housekeeping cleanup before year end, because
Right.
we added that placemakers and a couple of other, I think the guy from the Buffalo Rock contract. There was a couple people we added in the year that we didn't have on the detail. We started the budget that we told y'all we were gonna use it till but we might need a budget amendment where we're gonna need one for a little
Yeah,
bit.
like Ron Thompson and
Yeah.
Susan.
So we're gonna put that on the agenda to clean the budget up at the end of the year. I just let
Okay.
you know that was why.
All right, any other questions on some of those contracts?
Yeah, I have a quick question, and I apologize. I was looking for this earlier. Do we still have Fletcher Smith under contract to do downtown beautification?
He's doing other stuff.
Berkeley, Fletcher.
Do we still have curb appeal? We do, and that's in this contract. And then the other one I wanted to ask you about was Mark Thomas for invasives. You know, that's a 3-year project, and now this will be year 3.
Let me see.
Well, that was not, I thought somebody said he retired.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, I'm almost positive.
Ooh.
He told me to it, but we need to check
Ah,
with them. But
okay.
I want to say that, because I was looking at, on the Broadway thing.
Yeah.
And they said that he had retired.
Oh, dang.
I just don't.
Okay, I'll reach out to Jane.
Yeah, ask her, because she may know more about
Okay.
it. But no, I don't have anything, because I didn't know how
Right.
you wanted to do that this go around.
Okay, well, it's technically, it's a 3-year project, and this would be year 3. So let me check on that for you.
Hey, Berkeley,
Yeah.
I know I've had some discussion with somebody about the downtown and right there at the track shack and all the pavers and stuff.
I'll say this, John, that's gonna have to be that's gonna have to be.
It's a big project,
All up and down.
no question.
And all, because I mean,
It's dangerous at
it's
points.
getting to be issues in
Yeah.
there with the tree
So-
roots and things like that. I mean, they're buckling the,
So
I mean,
we-
dig them out, put them back, but I mean, most of those that we put back, I mean, there's some issues in there that's gotta be addressed over the next.
Yeah, I think those pavers just don't work anymore.
I mean, I ain't been ugly, I know landscape architects and they all love that stuff, but when you plant trees and concrete,
Yep.
it's just not a good thing.
No,
So, it's
yeah.
something we've gotta.
Well,
and
we have a
the Mayor
trip-
and I discussed it, I mean, I think it's, this upcoming year, it's something for next year's budget that the council's going to have to take a look at.
Yeah,
Along
okay.
down in that corridor down through there with those trees and stuff.
Absolutely, and it's a
So-
tripping hazard is what it also is, so, okay.
And Brian, you're picking up Berkeley, right?
I'm sorry.
On the audio? No, I mean, I
Not
think-
very well. And Andrew Wolverton is online and had asked that he could maybe come to the mic next time.
Tell
Just
him
wanted to-
we might do that.
Come to me.
Hey,
So,
Counselor-
okay, so you
Counselor?
heard that from Mr. Wolverton, you're not doing your job right, Berkeley, so, okay, I heard that. Okay.
Counselor Jones, I
moving
have a
on,
quick
page
question.
six.
Counselor Jones, I have a
Yes.
quick question if I could.
Sure.
Just on this subject, and it's kind of for Berkeley, do we contract out, like, street cleaning and things like that for downtown? Is that anything like what Jennifer was talking about just then, Miss Andrus?
Street cleaning?
Like downtown, like every now and then, it just looks like it needs a wash down and.
We have that
We do.
machine.
We have a
Okay.
street sweeper.
Yeah, well, we sweep, but we also, we did this past year, we'll start back this fall. We come down and pressure wash twice a year. We try to do it twice a year. And then my guys usually on Saturday, they come in about 5:30 and they go down and blow off and
Okay.
things like that.
So we have a weekly blowing and
Yes,
cleaning up
and,
of
uh,
this.
Usually
Okay.
that's A, B, and then we'll come in, usually on Saturday mornings, they try to do it about 5:30.
Okay.
And I'll,
I
work
didn't-
with it like that.
I didn't know if
But
that
now,
was us.
Tyrone usually, the downtown area, Tyrone sweeps at least 4 days a week,
Okay,
so.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, were you able to hear that, Mr. Wolverton?
Is Mr. Wolverton on Zoom?
Yeah. That's what Brian
Yeah,
just said.
he's on Zoom, and he's not very happy with what he's hearing.
I just said it's hard to hear, that's all.
Hey, could you mind asking Brian, is he the only council person on Zoom? I was gonna note it for the record, who else?
Yeah, for the record, and then our president is here
I
as
got
well.
that one, but is he the only council person on Zoom that we know of?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Mr. Jones, under 0111, contractual services, we need to add the arborist that I did not include in this. We spent today $2,400, so I would suggest the city arborist be added for the cost of $10,000 annually.
Okay, so back under maintenance contracts?
Contractual services.
Contractual services.
Contractual services?
Yes.
Okay, so we left out arborist.
Yeah, the arborist at $10,000.
Yeah, we just thought about it when we were talking about adding Henderson and the other one, I mean, that.
We've only paid him the last 2 months,
Yeah,
he
he's
wasn't in our
new.
record.
All right, is there a motion to add the arborist at 10,000 annually?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Smith, second by Mr. Harden. Any other questions on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign, that passes 4-0. Okay, moving on here. Page.
Jones, I had a quick question.
Sure.
I had a resident reach out to me about how we do ambulatory services, and I actually didn't know. And so there was, in terms of ambulances, and is that a contract?
The city doesn't have a contract for ambulance service.
Okay, and that's why I was curious. As to-
Yeah.
No, we do not. We provide paramedics at the scene of accidents and things like that, but in terms of ambulance, they're kind of.
It's
third
their
party.
regional
There's no contract
paramedical
with the
services.
city.
Okay, and we do that mostly through the fire department, I'm assuming, if necessary. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just say one thing real quick? When we get to the employee funding matters next week, and you might see it in capital too, the fire department did put a request in to consider, there's some municipalities like Vestavia and Trustful that do run their own ambulance. They did at first put in the budget request with the mayor about possibly considering looking at that and buying 2 trucks and having some additional staff. And the mayor wanted to, when you get to that, you'll see that he didn't put in his budget, but was gonna readdress it because I think they're doing a study under the Mayor's Association about that, and they're waiting to get those results. So you'll see in there the note that we might possibly come back to y'all at some point if they decide to do that, but it was not in the budget. I was just letting you know since
Thank
you
you,
asked.
Ms. Walter.
Okay. And on page 6, as I always talk about, a little in frustration, is Jefferson County Board, which we are paying the personnel board $340,000. And you pay based on the number of employees that are supported. And I ask every year if we can do something with that, and every year I'm told no. But-
And that, I mean, it's like we're paying a personnel agency, correct?
Correct.
And we're,
Yes, right, and that's, when I was asking Mr. Burgett to investigate putting together a total compensation statement that would typically come out of an HR system.
Right.
From the personnel board, which they would be supporting, and Robert said, no, we do not have access to even the HR system that they use to produce such a document. So he provided one, but it was through our own system, not through the HR system.
They did
So-
bill us last year though for their system. They bought Workday, so we use 2 systems, our system and Encode for HR, and we process personnel.
Right. But I just want everybody to know that's what we're paying, and that's why when we come to look at the personnel side of things, that's a huge expense that we have because of the number of employees we have. And I don't see that we get a lot back on it, but that's just the way it is. And so,
and we're in that, there's, City of Hoover's not in that because they're both in Shelby County and Jefferson County. And are we forced into that?
yes, we are. That's
By federal decree.
Yeah.
by federal law.
And if we try to get out, our mayor will go to jail.
And I don't want to see them do that. I just like to mention it every year just to to show my frustration.
And then,
Again.
because my name's on the check, they'll come get me next, so please don't.
So I think we go pick up some land in Shelby County and annex it into the city, and we'll be in good shape.
We can find a way. Okay. Okay, and then you'll see, our wonderful, transit authority is in there somewhere.
Yeah,
Where?
it's 239, 944.
Yeah, and so that's just a portion of it, of what we budget. It's in two other funds, isn't it?
Yeah, it's out of the, isn't it out of the
Yeah.
7-cent gas tax and something else?
Where are the other funds that the transit authority resides? Can you remind me
I'm
of that?
sorry, I apologize.
Transit, doesn't it come out of 7 cents
Debt
gas?
service and.
Debt
general
service.
fund.
General fund and debt
General
service,
funds,
okay.
okay, so that's just a portion here, of the transit authority. But I appreciate everyone who met with the transit authority and worked that out, so it didn't seem to be a painful process this year. So we're really excited about that.
And we have a new seat on the board, so that's exciting.
And I just want to say, how much I enjoyed working with Ann August when she was there. She passed away just recently. And my thoughts and prayers are with her family. She was just a joy to work with. And I appreciate her, everything she did. But anyway, that's kind of a sad note. I want to try to think of something positive here to talk about. Okay, then moving down, again, utilities, this is our best guess in terms of what that is going to be.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah, sure.
I noticed that we have budgeted less on electricity. Are we hoping that that's gonna be because of the changes that we're making to the chiller? That we're gonna have some, is that what that is? I don't know. I just noticed that we.
It's $15,000
It's
less.
$15,000
We
less.
just took a $50,000 less just based on historical expense.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause we're only at 194.
We didn't adjust for the chiller because we weren't sure when we would get it installed.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
now I see, because the actual's only 194.
Yeah,
versus
194.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. And then again, you can see there, the 1 cent of sales tax is now 9.6 million is what we're budgeting going to the Board of Education directly. And I've always asked, how many other cities do that? I don't think any city in the state does that.
Now Trustful does give a penny of their sales tax, but then they deduct all the bond and money that they lent to the board before they give them the 1 cent. They deduct all their bond expense out of it. So
Got
they
it.
get about half.
They get half, okay. So we do not do that, okay. We'll just bring your attention to that. We have other expenses on the bottom. And then, any other questions on page 6?
I just have one quick question about the retirees' health insurance. I'm assuming that number is a little bit bigger because we did the change in the
Yes, ma'am.
way we're doing the, okay.
So it's gone up, 70,000 to 100, okay.
And we're over on that, that's right.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Also beautification board, that was in a separate, that was under tree planning. Isn't that where the beautification board?
We have one,
expenditures
Sure, tree
were-
planting and a beautification board appropriation, I believe.
Yes, we have the.
Okay,
tree-
so we're setting aside a dedicated line
It's
item there
575113
for the
for
beautification.
tree
It
planting.
was in tree planting. The League of Municipalities went up because our population went up. We have more 1 and 2 year olds running around. Okay,
And real quick, I just
Sure.
wanted to talk about the Chamber of Commerce. We increased it by $10,000. Meredith Drennan and I had a conversation, and I know she followed up with Barry as well. Next summer, the
World Games.
Games are coming to Birmingham, and we want to be able to promote the heck out of Homewood, because we are the next closest city and where a lot of people are going to be staying.
You have a lot of
while the World
hotels.
Games are going on, so I decided to give them an extra $10,000 to be able to, do whatever promotions and work together with the city of Birmingham to get people here, so that's why you see that increase.
And Meredith is, at some point, she and I, well, she, not I, is gonna present kind of like what our plan is, so that
Yeah.
y'all can see what that
That's
money
great.
is going for.
So it was just
Okay.
strategically thinking for next summer.
Thank you, Mayor. That's exciting. That is-
I
that
also
is
wanted to
great
comment
news.
on the World Games. While we have the World Games coming next year, we actually, and you guys can speak to this too, we actually have the World Police and Fire Games coming in 2025, and that's actually gonna be 10,000 people in the metropolitan area.
What's it called?
So, the World
Police and Fire, World Police
Yeah.
and Fire Games.
Yeah, 2025, so it's gonna be 10 times the amount of people, or athletes or competitors or what have you, so that's,
I think we have a couple guys back there.
Yeah.
gonna
Chief Hill, are you
participate in
going
that.
to,
I can see smiles.
Brandon, are you gonna participate?
Brandon's gonna be the,
Training at Station 3.
Okay, great. That's what we
We're
want to
in.
hear. That's what we want to hear.
About holiday lighting, I know the beautification board has spent the last 3 years, is that still ongoing, Robert? Are they still adding? You know, I know the idea was to outfit the whole city with the snowflake throughout the whole city. Is
Well,
that,
we budgeted $10,000 again this year for holiday lighting.
okay,
Now, last year, we actually spent 12,868. We did a budget amendment when they ordered some additional wreaths, I believe.
We had to buy that tree. Didn't we have to buy a new tree?
tree blew
For the
over.
one that,
did insurance not cover that? The one
No,
that
the
blew apart?
insurance
we do have
did.
the insurance funds to pay for the tree available now. We do need to get that ordered. I said something to Meredith Drennan a few weeks ago about that. But the cost of the tree is not, it's not coming out of the general fund. It's out of the insurance proceeds.
Gotcha. Well,
But
I was just wondering if we needed 10,000 for holiday lighting, because I knew we'd had it dedicated the
Yeah.
last several years. We have been,
Nick, is that something that you could talk to the beautification board
do you know? Nick?
about, or?
Yes, I can talk to them about it. So that's the 11,515. And it's all-
we budgeted 10.
Well, we're budgeting 10 in the fiscal year.
For
in the
lighting.
new
and-
year.
And Nick, I'm
So-
wondering, we had,
So that, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
you go ahead, go ahead.
So in the holiday lighting line expense, I see 10,000 for the upcoming year.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that is, obviously that is just for decorations, separate from the 10 for beautification award. So I'll
Correct.
see if they have any plans to add additional wreaths and lighting, because I do not know, but there is a meeting on Monday, so I can follow
Oh,
up with you
good,
after
yeah.
the Monday meeting.
And I
then-
remember I remember the idea was to go throughout the whole city and do snowflakes. And we would replace all the,
Other,
so perhaps that's what that is. I'm just wondering, do we, I'm actually not wanting to spend money, believe it or not. Usually I'm the one wanting to spend money. So I'm just wondering if that's what, are we still working through that process is what I'm asking, I guess.
So I'll confirm that with them to see if there's more wreaths or snowflakes that need to be purchased for the upcoming season. I know that they've kind of pulled some that were damaged last year, and we'll just see if we need additional funds for decorations. And I'll follow up on Tuesday since they meet on Monday.
Well, that'd be great. That'd
Okay,
be great.
thanks.
Yeah. So we have
And-
time if we need to make any changes.
If you recall the meeting that we had with the beautification board, they also wanted to do something for City Hall for Christmas, because, we have the
That's right.
tree out front, but the City Hall itself doesn't really have, it's not really decorated that well, so I believe that was part of the lighting or holiday, whatever you want to call it. That was part of what they were gonna do with this year's budget, the money that they were getting, so.
That's great. I'm glad you brought that up, because that had escaped me. Because I think that something previously was in the budget 2 years ago, and there was a price discrepancy, so they switched to not focusing on City Hall, but the wreaths and the
I believe,
snowflakes
yeah.
throughout the city,
Yeah.
and like West Homewood and Edgewood and so forth, as well as downtown. So
Yeah.
this is probably to go back to that item and do something. So,
Correct.
Okay.
And to go back to the beautification board piece, of their actual $10,000 budget that's new this year, part of that was also to go towards trying to figure out signage, street signs for the entire city. If you look at it now, we have probably 3 different types of street signs.
That's right.
And they want to systematically
And
try
they
and
can-
change
they
it to where they all
consistent.
look the same. Unfortunately, we can't do some of the signs that we used to do in-house anymore because we don't have the welding
Yeah.
material or the person to do it now. So they're gonna have to look at outsourcing that, and I know Randy's looking at that with them. But that's where part of that money, not just the tree planting comes from, but also the signage that they're looking at.
And I'm gonna go ahead and shout out Chris Smith, because he is the one who brought that up to me originally. And he is now serving on the beautification board, and he is championing that, so that we have a consistent street sign look through the entire city, which is a
Well,
great idea.
but I think also it's important to signify different groups of the city, have a consistent look, but then also have it denote, okay, this is Rosedale, this is Hollywood, this is Edgewood, this is West Homewood, you know, have a, I don't know, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know what you're trying-
Like,
and-
not
and-
just all of them look the same, but, you know,
Well, and his biggest issue was like, he wanted there to be a consistency, because, you know, some streets have the green, just the straight green with the white letters, and then there's
Yeah.
there's the decorative signs that neighborhoods used to pay for to get their street, you know, they kick in money together and they do it. So he wanted there to be a consistency and
No,
have
no,
those
yeah.
the black signs with the white letters
Correct.
throughout the entire
Okay.
city.
okay.
Yeah, and to your point, or to both of your points, actually, yeah, so since the spending freeze, there was no, you know, push on doing any changes for consistency of road signage this year, but they continue to collect an inventory. So they've worked, you know, tirelessly on creating that database, which is great, because then once everything falls into place, we'll be ready to go and start replacing signs in partnership with traffic. But I think we're looking at street signage being consistent, but then also, Councilor Jones, that certain neighborhoods could have a way to brand their neighborhoods as well, whether it's West
Yeah.
Homewood or Edgewood or Rosedale, so that maybe that's something more related to like a flag or some other markation. And I think that's another great conversation, so that, you know, there's the identity, but also some connectedness for those different pockets. So.
And one last question, if you can bring up to them, we talked extensively about additional entrances to the city, and you know, like the one behind, we talked about the one behind Publix, you're coming into the neighborhood there, having additional markers for entrances to the city. That if you could look into that and see if that would.
And that is one
we
of the.
talked about it before, and we put it on hold.
That is one of the things the board looked at with the mayor as well. They shared a gateways plan that was created
Yeah, the
and
gateway.
scoped by Goodwin Mills and Kaywood a few years ago. So we were just kind of revisiting that conversation to see what, you know, would be next for that and what makes sense going forward. But we do have that initial plan, which was produced by GMC, and so we could focus on corridors and key entrances. And then the next step would be, you know, figuring out what to do, whether it's additional markers like the ones most recently the Boy Scouts did in, I believe, Hollywood area. But just continuing to do those and look at those beautification projects.
Great.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Berkeley, we've got 40,000 in the budget for the planting of mature trees. We obviously didn't spend our money this year. How are we, we've got, I guess, $40,000 sitting there from this past budget. We're not gonna spend 80,000. Tell me what you're thinking. We've struggled obviously to get trees.
I think now, I mean, as we move forward, is the inventory has,
There's no inventory
you know,
to
up until
plant.
recently, there's not been a whole lot of inventory on mature trees. And I think in a lot of those cases, we were trying to, you know, designate areas in different wards that, you know, we could
Right.
plant some mature trees and go from there. So I'm hoping this upcoming year, we'll be able to get back on there. Because I know a few of the nurseries, because I was talking with Clark and Wednesday, that the ones that we're gonna be planting at Chuck and then we're gonna be planting on Green Springs, right now, we're in good shape with all of our mature trees for there. So I would say this upcoming year, we would be able to kind of get back on schedule with a lot of that.
Hey, Bert,
Yeah.
that 40,000, I think Robert and I and the mayor were assuming that we wouldn't spend any more between now and 9:30. That was really just a rollover.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, and so I think that's what John's saying. He's
Yeah,
like,
That's what I
do we
thought
need to
John
budget
said.
another 40,000, or are we
No.
just considering that 40,000 to
No.
be the
We
40?
that we just didn't get it this year, so we
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
said
we
we
were
were
just gonna
spend
roll it
40.
over
Yeah.
into
Right,
next year.
that's
It
right,
would be
okay,
80, it would
that's-
be
It's
40.
not new money, it's
Yeah,
just,
Yeah,
no,
it
it'd
was
be
the
the
same
same, just roll over.
Gotcha.
That was my point.
Because there's none to be spent, because I mean.
I just, when he said 80, I was afraid he thought we were gonna spend
No.
40 in the next few weeks.
No, it
We were
wouldn't.
just saying we weren't gonna get any,
I think
so-
this upcoming year, we'll have a better opportunity to utilize that money and spend it and plan it, so.
But anything that's not spent goes into carryover fund balance. So
Right,
it-
right.
we're-
And-
You know, so we're not giving,
So Walter, do we still keep that 40 in there? That's my-
I think so, hoping that we're able to utilize it and get some.
Because the 40 for this
trees.
year's gonna go away. I mean, it's gonna be,
Yeah, that's
when you
right.
see the budget at the end of the year, it's gonna be zero actual 40,000 budget. We didn't do it. So that 40's going to next year, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
You
assumed.
gotta have it in next year's budget to do purchase orders, but it's not gonna be anything this year spent today.
Okay.
Okay, I have something, I'm sorry, to go back to, apologize. So this project that we started on the Lakeshore Trail 3 years ago, this will be year 3 with Mark Thomas in Berkeley's department. He has not retired. He is looking forward to working again with Homewood. And I believe we spent 15,000, Berkeley, does that sound right?
Yes.
For that. So Berkeley needs 15,000 for wildlife, hang on, I gotta find the name of his company.
So we need to
Wildlife-
add that to the budget, is that what you're saying?
But that's under contractual services.
Under contractual services, I'm sorry, I'm going back to that. Well, we were wondering if he'd retired, and I checked in with Jane. He is not retired. He's looking forward to working with us again.
He's the one that cleared out all that
Mhm.
stuff.
You know, they eradicated critters and kudzu and stuff along the trail.
So does that need to be back in contractual?
Yes,
services?
I apologize.
What do you have? I'm sorry.
15,000, the name of the company is Forestry Wildlife Integration, and it's for removal of invasives on the Lakeshore Trail, and also Berkeley's gonna talk to me about Broadway as well.
Okay, can you forward that over to
The
Ms.
vendor's
Salter
name
so we
is
can put that in?
Mark
the-
Thomas, yeah.
Okay, so,
Hey, Walt, hold up. I think I was paying, Jen, I think I paid that a couple of years out of mine.
You don't need that in this, yeah, I think you did.
can you check on that and then,
Just trying to figure out where it was.
Oh, where it came from, okay.
and get back to us?
Okay.
Yes.
He has a contractual services in 20, so information's not in there.
Okay, we'll table that until we get an answer as to where we're, because I thought we were paying for that somewhere else.
So right now, all y'all done is just add the 10,000. We got that one motion for, it's about line item for
Okay. Good news, we don't have municipal election expense.
Amen,
You-
brother, preach on.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we need to we start moving into departments here. Any questions? All right, let's move on to page 9, inspection services. And this is, coming out of 12, and then we also have 13 for the first time. So we'll get to that in a second. But you can see, we just have copiers there, supplies, very small amounts on all this. Demolition costs, we had budgeted 12.5, but we did not, we haven't used any for demolition. So, Mr. Smith, do you see needing, or, yeah, Mr. Pugh, do you need, what are your thoughts on the demolition costs?
Walter, you on page 9?
I'm on page 10.
Is
The
that
top of page
abatements?
10.
Is that to cover abatements?
Yes, it is. 12.5 is roughly enough to cover one house, one residential
One
demolition.
residential house to demolish, okay.
Yes, sir. And actually, I was about to use that money on 307 in Glenwood, and then the homeowner sort of popped back up and asked for some more time. But I may end up actually spending that 12.5 from
Yes.
this year.
We may use it on 307
We probably
West
need it
Glenwood.
just in
Yeah.
case, yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and reschedule that demolition and just get it
And
done.
then we eventually get that back through the lien on the property.
We sure will.
Yeah, eventually, but it takes a while. Okay, so you feel good about 12.5?
12.5 will do one, and so I think if we
Okay.
run into a situation where we need more, I'll just have to come
Okay,
back.
thank you, Mr. Pugh. Okay,
Yes, sir.
wonderful. All right, any other questions? Okay, now we have Mr. Smith here, engineering and zoning. As you see, there are no prior, we don't have a 5-year prior number because we didn't have this department. So, you can see professional services there. And the engineering, services, any questions on that? So we're budgeting, 100,000 for that, and traffic engineer services at 20. And this is for, Mr. Smith, this is for, whatever project that needs engineering services, outside engineering services, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so,
Like, for instance, we're currently using an outside group of engineers to help us with the survey and engineering work on on Old Montgomery. So for
Yes.
projects like that where we need some
got it, okay,
assistance.
okay.
Counselor Jones, can I just make a note in this discussion too? The traffic engineering for services, the 20,000, there's a note that says to pay for traffic calming recommendations and design. And I just wanted to kind of highlight that because
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of feedback from residents for desires for, slowing down traffic, both through the portal and through direct outreach. Traditionally, one of those calls is for speed bumps, but we don't want to put speed bumps all throughout the city.
Right.
So looking at design improvements for traffic calming is really key. And so I just wanted to mention that item, as it appears that it was 0 last year, but there's 20,000 this year. I don't know if it was in another line item before, but I definitely see the importance of that as we're getting a lot of feedback from residents about desires to slow down traffic to ensure safety for kids and all pedestrians and residents.
And I'll just say someone got hit by a car today on Berry. And so, on Berry Road.
What happened?
Someone was hit.
I mean, so just to say that we need to
Not
figure out how to
sidewalks.
fund these traffic measures.
Yeah.
There was also somebody that was hit a couple weeks ago on Delcris.
On Delcris, okay.
Although those two streets, I believe, have been studied recently. I know Delcris has, and Kale is working on some solutions there.
So all that's to really say, thanks, Kale, for bringing this forward as part of this, because I think it's
Yeah.
important and something that residents want, is what we're hearing.
Okay, any other questions for 13?
Not jumping.
Yes.
You don't need to put the 15,000. I'll take out of that for, what Jeff was talking about. We're good.
Okay, so you got that as your part, okay, so we don't need to add that, but it will be paid, okay, wonderful. Okay, let's move to 14, the police department. So, let's see here, looking at contractual services.
We're not defunding the police, are we?
Nope, absolutely not. In fact, we're funding them by an additional $42,000. And that is due to, as you can see, and I don't know, Chief, if you have any comments on this, it's obvious, we're gonna be using trust cleaning over there. And so that's the additional, that was not in the budget before. So that's your 42. So we've gone up from 144 to 182, basically, so that accounts for the difference. Any questions on any of the contractual services?
Councilor Jones,
Yeah.
does this account for the request that Chief Ross made in terms of the app and the additional measures that we're taking for the police department?
No, those expenditures would be under capital.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get, if we can keep moving, then we might get to capital. I'm gonna try, but it's kind of, sometimes we get bogged down on some of these. Okay, so any questions? The chief is here to answer anything. We've got supplies, so The one question I had, and I think I got the answer to it, Chief, is that our canine supplies were pretty low in terms of year-to-date through June 30th, $7,200, and we had budgeted $25,000, but that's related to, we had retired, or we had 2 dogs that had retired, is that right?
One retired, and we were going to replace him. We do have a plan to replace that dog.
Okay.
So, yeah, we still need that 25,000 as we have.
Got it,
last
okay.
several
So
budget years.
we'll have a new dog, okay, great.
And can I ask Chief a question? Because I just saw animal control expenses. Who is our animal control officer now? Somebody asked me that question today, and I was like,
It's still,
Yeah,
it's not Robbie anymore.
no, she left.
She left.
We replaced her with Tracy Moore,
Tracy Moore.
and I think you probably see an increase, or what we asked for an increase in that line item, because she was very proactive.
yes.
Not that Robbie wasn't, but, forgive me, I'm recovering from bronchitis, but Robbie was too, but Tracy has just been very hard working, very proactive, so and the vet bills are continuously going up, it seems. So we asked for a little bit more money in that.
How many
line.
years did Robbie serve? Do you know?
She did 25 plus.
Okay.
So Tracy's been with us now for, I guess, a year, close to it. She's doing a really good job for us. If I could call your attention, Dr. Jones, to the maintenance contracts.
Yeah.
I would like to suggest that we cut Applied Concepts / Cop Tracks for $24,800.
What page are you on? See,
I'm using my notes, I'm sorry. Yeah, maintenance contracts, we contract yearly with a company called Applied Concepts Cop Tracks. That is our software for our in-car cameras. And as you'll notice later, we've asked for a new in-car camera system because our current in-car camera system is really obsolete because it will not coordinate, it will not work with Windows, the old Windows operating system. We've had to go to Windows 10. And since we went to Windows 10, we have exhausted every means possible to get Windows 10 to work with, to mesh with Cop Tracks. So we have asked, as you'll notice in the capital budget later, for new in-car cameras. So we do not need to contract anymore with Applied Concepts Cop Tracks for $24,800 for this upcoming fiscal year. So I would recommend that we
make a note to all department heads that we appreciate this type of request.
And I would make a motion to remove $24,800 for Applied Concepts Cop Track from the the Contractual Services Maintenance Contract.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Smith, seconded by Mr. Almond.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Thank you, Chief. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign, 4-0, that passes. Okay, and so we are on page 15 now. Any other questions? I know you have incredible technology now to help you do your job.
We really do, and it changes, quicker than we can keep up with it, it seems, but we certainly do our best.
Okay.
Chief, that contraption that's over in the Walmart parking lot, do we use that?
Yes, sir. The watchtower?
Yeah.
We do. I'd really like to keep it over in that area unless we are experiencing a particular trend in crime or a special event or something. We can go hook it up and move it wherever we want to, just about. But because I believe that Wildwood is so important for us, that area, shopping and the revenue that it produces and so forth, we like to leave that over there as much as possible. And of course, Walmart, Sam's love to have it over there. You'll see it down at Publix from time to time. You'll see it in downtown Homewood when we might have an event such as the Christmas parade or whatever. But yes, sir, we do use it. And we're able to put a person up in that tower to observe, 360-degree observation platform. And we also are able to record with it and then watch it remotely from our computer. So it's a very useful piece of equipment.
And why do we have two different elevator contracts?
That's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up because we are still contracting with Bagby for the old police building to keep that elevator functional. Now, we don't have to do that necessarily.
We don't need that, do we?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna be done with that building, or from time to time, we have to go over there and get something out of it or check something because it's
Okay.
still there.
You have to, but it's inspected.
We need to have that contract active, yeah. Yeah,
So,
you're right.
so that's why it's in there. The other elevator contract is for the new building, which is a different elevator company
Yeah,
altogether.
okay, that makes sense, okay. Great. Okay.
Chief Ross, I just
Yes,
have a
sir.
question. So looking at the new positions that are being added to, are those roles or any of the existing roles going to change at all based on the implementation of the expected app? And, because obviously, the public information aspect of it, it takes somebody to put the information forth for it to actually then be conveyed to community members, or is it automated in the app, or is this reflective of some of that as well?
The personnel requests do not necessarily reflect a need for somebody to, in addition to what we have in our PIO, our public information officers that we have on staff. We have a lieutenant that's over the public information, and then a sergeant that really handles it day to day, and then also another officer that's trained and able to do PIO duties. So those requests were not really, we didn't target that particular area in the department to add more people to. And I really believe this app that we're asking for in the capital budget, much of that will be automated. So I don't anticipate more manpower need necessarily, or need more manpower to deploy that app.
Thanks, that's great. I think if it's automated, that's ideal, so glad to hear that.
Okay, and then one note, the SRO program, we're reimbursed under the grants fund for that program through the schools.
Yes, sir. We contract with them every year, and they reimburse some of our personnel that we deploy over there, their training, and some of their equipment even, every year.
Okay, great. All right, any other questions on anything within Fund 14?
I noticed we're bumping up tuitions in schools by about $25,000, it looks like. Do we have some officers who are doing some additional education and training this coming year?
We do, but one of the reasons it went up as much as it did is traditionally, or if you go back in some historicals, we were getting as much as 85,000. I think it went down to 70. And we have several vacancies right now, plus a request for new positions. And the cost to train our new positions, our new officers, has gone up considerably. We used to be able to send them to a police academy, and once they graduated, they reimbursed us for the tuition cost. They don't do that anymore. So the training costs have gone up considerably, and we have so many vacant positions right now that I anticipate filling that we'll need that extra money in tuition schools.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. And thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to the fire department, page 18. You can see supplies, uniforms are part of this. All right, everybody stand up. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jennifer. Happy birthday to you.
Those birthday treats are perfect.
I thought they were all for Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna run a marathon tomorrow. That's actually a good
All right, you may be
background.
seated. That was to wake everybody up also. Thank you.
Chief, I don't feel like he was about to be like, it's not my birthday.
Yeah, I was like,
All right, this'll get us through our last hour. We're down to 1 hour. Okay. Uniforms. Everything looks fairly straightforward. Are there any questions on page 18? All right, moving on to page 19, contractual services.
Commissioner Jones, you'd asked about the year-to-date expense under the contractual services. It's currently at $99,354 as of today.
Okay,
A
so-
couple large items have been paid recently.
Got it, okay. So it was showing 33, so 99 is closer. So, yeah, okay, that helps. Tell me what Lexipol.
so Lexipol is our software that manages our SOPs, and by paying for that, what we did was we uploaded all of our SOPs and guidelines and policies and procedures, and they vet them for legal compliance, for state compliance, for federal compliance, and then they send us back a best use, best policy. This meets this criteria, this meets this criteria, and by doing so, we hope to keep us out of a couple of lawsuits. So,
Okay.
and it also, part of it is also for, we use it for training as well, so.
Okay. All right, any questions on that? Okay, moving to page 20. You have a really good feel for the utilities. I see very few budget amendments within your different stations. You have that pretty well worked out. So under other expenses, membership subscriptions, any questions on that? And we have fitness apparatus at different stations, right?
We
I know
do,
it
but
at one.
Station 3's is mostly outside on the patio.
Okay.
So it's all rusty. And there's a gym right across the street from Station 3.
Okay.
So for $1,500 a year, they let us join for everybody at Station 3. They just have a pass, so anybody who works there. It's not an individual membership just for those assigned at Station 3. It's just a station pass. It's for the guys, when they get to Station 3, they can go over there and work out.
All right, well, we
'Cause
want you to
we-
win the big thing in 2025.
Well,
So, yeah, we need to be physically fit.
We did, you see our Facebook page, we adopted the fitness initiative by the joint labor. And so we have to jump through several hoops to do that. We had to do some testing initially, we had to have a physical, which we did anyway. But then we make them exercise, we designated time for them, and they have to do something. And we actually, when we get to Capitol, we have an app so that we can track it, because some people, I've been blessed, I like to exercise, and so, for me, it's fun, but for some people, it's not fun. And so we're under Capitol, we have an app that we're gonna make them do it, so that we can make sure that they're doing what they need to stay healthy. Because you don't really have to worry about the ones who like it, worry about the ones who don't like it. But that's what that
All right,
is.
thank you. Okay, any?
Chief, I got, the Sam's Club $25, is that for the membership, or?
Yeah,
I
that's
know-
the
I see
membership.
y'all coming to Sam's Club, unfortunately, I'm there too much, and I see the fire truck sitting out there, and
It's for the membership.
Yeah, it's for the membership, and they save a lot of money by
because
buying some things in
that's
bulk.
my membership's a lot more than $25.
Well, they give us a break.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, we get the municipal rate. They don't like you, that's right.
No.
All right, so we're moving on to page 21. These are really your biggest expenses, the Hydra expenses.
What is that?
For the hydrants, we pay Birmingham Water Works.
Birmingham for water.
But they maintain them. So if, you know, we
We
go
just
out, test it, we
pass.
find it's broken, we call them, they come fix it. So, but that is why I'm reluctant when you see somebody says, well, I need to work in the right of way, or I want to put a fire hydrant in the right of way, and they want us to assume that liability. I said, I don't need it. You need it for your business. I don't need it. So we
Right.
might let them put it in the right of way, but we don't ever let them add it to this list, because now we're stuck with it forever. So like Chick-fil-A and Edgar's, you know, we let them put it in the right of way, but we didn't need it. So I said, well, that's just for your business. So they pay for it, and they pay for it forever. So
Got it.
we try not to keep this down.
Okay, great.
Is the one hydrant install, is that at a specific location, or is that just?
We just put that in every year in case we have one that just gets hit by a car, and it happens to be one we're responsible for. We have one in front of Station
And for
One.
the record, it's not like on TV where somebody runs over a fire hydrant and then all of a sudden it's shooting up in the air. If you hit a fire hydrant, your car is gonna be totaled.
Now, that's true. Now, we did have one up by the middle school. How many years ago was that?
It's about 5 years ago.
Yeah, it hit so hard, it tore the main out of the ground.
Oh, wow.
So that stem goes down into the main. And now in
Okay.
California, they are, in warm climates, they don't have to worry about that. But it's made that way so the water doesn't freeze in the barrel.
Got
But,
it,
you know, when
okay.
you're in warm climates, they don't worry about that. Arizona, that kind of places. But if you hit it hard enough with a big enough truck, it will come out of the ground, and it'll be a geyser. And there'll be rocks
Okay.
and mud everywhere.
Stand corrected. All right.
Well, it's made to break off. Most people, they hit it with a car, they shear it off, and it's fine. But if you hit it hard enough, fast enough, it'll come out.
Wow, okay. Any other questions for the chief? Okay, moving to page 22, court maintenance, court management, rather. Small department, maintenance there are only 2 maintenance contracts that we have a copy
Dr.
of.
Jones, some of the stuff you shuffle between Fund 22 when we get to the
Yep.
Fund 28, because he has that court. He tries to make his little impact on the general fund as he can, so.
We appreciate that, yep. Okay. Okay. Any questions on that department? Okay, moving on to sanitation. And I guess the number that jumps out to me is on the dump rental. That's just such a large amount, obviously, but it keeps going up, and I know that's part of our savings initiative if we can work on something like that. Were you coming up here to make a speech?
No, just any
I
questions?
mean, we've
Okay.
spent up until, the end of July, 140,000, 139,000. So,
Yep.
Which one you want?
the dump rental.
Oh, yeah.
So are we,
We should be able, we'll cover the 210, but I believe there was a thought that it would be around 200 for next year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it under 200 though in the last,
Today,
Five.
we spent 156, 135.
okay.
but it's never been under 200 in the last 5 years, so do we need to bump that up a little bit? I mean, it's been, the lowest it's been is 205.
I know on our trash dump fees, we've lowered them a little bit because we're taking a lot of that stuff to Grays
Okay.
now. And so he charges less than we did when we went to, out on 77. So I think that,
You okay with that?
yeah, I believe we'll be okay on that.
Okay.
Did you tell him you already gave him office to be such a pretty job?
Yeah, man. It's like a turnip, man, it bleeds.
All right. Any
He's always
questions?
willing to give a little bit.
Okay, moving on to street department. Just 3 maintenance contracts on that. Any questions? I did where did radio maintenance, did that go to a different department? Was that in there before? Yeah, it was in there 4 years ago, but I was just wondering.
Never used it.
That must be in some other department.
Yeah, that one showed up, I don't
But
know.
the only reason it showed back up is
because we've gone to that 5-year history, and
And
that.
it pulled it from that
was an
5-year history.
expense 5 years ago for
Got it.
$360.
Okay, that makes sense, okay.
Sorry about that.
Nice
All right.
music.
And then, moving on to page 25. Pretty straightforward there. All right. Okay, so I think we're good. Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Debbie's in the hot seat.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Can I ask one question really quick? Berkeley, I'm 520,400 contractual services, that notation about moving 50K to that line item. Did y'all, I was trying to figure out what that was.
That enables us, instead of me having to go rate White and Kale's fund, we can do ours without me having to go to them to get a PO. There's a lot of things in-house that we can do with smaller contractors and stuff that it allows us the opportunity to go ahead and get that done without me having to go through them and them not, him seeing it later once he prints it out or whatever. So I talked with the mayor about just moving some over to our line item to allow us to, we may have one, or two things that's $8,000 or $10,000, line item, whether it's a storm drain that needs replacing or whatever it may be, that, is a small ticket item that we can do, or, in-house, or we got a contractor that can do it that's that small. It's just easier for us on that end, so we just asked the mayor to move 50,000 over. Technically, it's 42, because we already had 8,000 in there for some of that, so it was really just a $42,000 ad.
And
from
Council
before.
Sims, when you get to capital, he did take, small infrastructure down, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like we added 50 to the budget, he took it down from 200 to 150 since Berkeley was sharing it with Kale and Whitehead. But that would have been in capital, we just moved 50 from capital.
That was small infrastructure though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying, but it won't be 200 when you get to capital.
It'll be
it's gonna
150,
Yeah.
and 50 is going in yours,
yeah,
okay.
that was it. We just took some out, because usually we end up having to go to theirs once I pass a certain amount anyway, so.
I didn't want him to think y'all, we added 50,000 to the.
No, it was
Yeah,
We did that to
Okay.
capital by 50,000.
Okay.
that's what it was.
To pay your
Good,
bills.
okay.
and we'll talk more when we get to capital, because you'll notice, and I'm sure everyone have read your budget books for capital, but Mr. Smith is kind of breaking out different projects for sidewalks, and so it's critical that we have a line item for sidewalks that come up that are not part of the big ones that need to be done. So we'll get to that when we get to capital. Okay, now we're moving on to the library. Yep, you're welcome. So you got supplies there. Let's see. I did not have any questions on this. It looks like your computer supplies have been pretty low so far through June 30th, but is 16 still a good number for that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. You always have a very tight budget.
I do, and I turn in everything we don't use, so.
I know you do. And you've even in the past, I remember having a grant person to kind of look at different grants that would save some money as well.
Yeah, I've done most of the grants up there, but, yeah, I'm looking at one to do next year, though. I'm looking at one coming up in December I'm gonna be working on.
Okay, we like to hear that. Okay, then maintenance contracts. You're only going up $3,000 from last year to this year. Any questions on any of this? How many self-check machines do we have now?
We've got one in the children's and 4 at the front desk.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
Debbie, if you have a roof leak, how do you deal with that?
She has a
We
new
have
roof.
roof leaks.
They don't have a roof leak, she has a new roof.
But we do have a new roof, but we still, it's a flat roof and we do have roof
Yeah.
leaks. The last time we had problems
Oh,
though
my God, that
was
was terrible.
because a heat pump, there was one of the drains on the heat pump that was stopped up. So that was the last problem. We get a few drips and stuff, but, we just deal with it as they come. We hadn't had anything too bad, but the worst we had was it May when we had that flood through here, and it actually came through the windows downstairs. The water got so high, so that was a pretty bad one. But I got the people in that same day that we had it, so we didn't, get any mold or anything. We had blowers all over the building though for a few days. But we do have roof leaks, even with the new roof from time to time. If something, if one of those roof drains gets stopped up or something.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that, and you had just gotten the roof, so everything was
Yeah.
covered. The roof guy came out and fixed everything, so.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was-
It's just the nature of a flat roof.
All right. Okay, any questions?
Did we approve the minute?
No, we have not, because we didn't have a quorum.
Oh, that's
so
right.
we will.
Well, can I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for the meeting from September 7th, 2021?
Okay.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Smith to dispense with the reading and approve as distributed. Mrs. Smith, Mr. Harden seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. 4-0. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and moving on to page 28, Park and Rec.
From Berkeley again.
Here he comes.
And I know I missed on Tuesday night, so I didn't get to hear all the yay revenue situation. Did we have, were our memberships at the park
Yes.
back
Yes.
to better levels this year?
Yeah, our revenue was up
Good.
a whole lot better than last year.
Good.
Our numbers have picked back up on pretty much all of our programming so far, plus our rentals were up this past year.
Yeah, everything is much improved on that. All right, so professional services on page 28. God, that tree removal.
I know.
Wow, that's a big.
I was about to say, is that
that's a
enough?
big-
No, it's never enough.
It's not
I mean,
enough.
I'll be honest with you, I can't go up to normally what we do. That's just, it's
Expensive.
normally anywhere from 80 to 100,000 a year, but I mean, there's some years that.
Well, do we need to bump that up?
I try just to leave it at 40, and then if I need to come back later, I
Okay.
do. So it just.
I'm trying to help you out
It
over here.
sounds better, and that's really my main one. I mean, it just, because I got 3 right now that we just got called about this week that are on right away that are dead that we got to get, and one of them's huge. So
Huge, right.
that one's just. I mean, I understand.
You want to keep it at 40?
Yeah, just leave it there, and then we'll just go from there. I'd rather do it. The only other new one I wanted to highlight, we went in. It's the PSA Coaching Safely, which is the Positive Coaching Alliance. We went in with the school system on. They're doing it as well. It's a program that's kind of nationwide. We're actually one of the first ones, or the first one in the state of Alabama that's doing it with our schools and our parks. It's a program to help get our coaches certified and working with youth and also working up through the school systems and stuff. It's kind of a joint effort that Dr. Hefner and mainly his guys, and along with Jacob Stevens that works for me, kind of went after this thing, and a couple of my, and Barry knows, a couple of park board members are real active in this thing. So it's a great thing. We think it'll be a good value as we move forward for our coaches here, plus the coaches in the school system. So, but that was really the only change I think going.
And then you
moving
said you
forward.
wanted to stop the litter getter, get rid of that. You didn't like that, did you? I was seeing if Miss Andrews was paying attention.
Jennifer,
Over her dead body. It's her birthday, man. You can't.
Jennifer
do that.
made me get up a little muffin back.
Better get her.
That's right. I ain't getting cut out of the cupcake round.
By the way, it's Berkeley and Gina's 26th wedding anniversary.
Yeah,
Happy
well,
anniversary.
Thank you very much.
It's a big day.
If you put up with me for that long, you know something's wrong. The drugs are good. Keep them going.
All right. Okay.
You're saying she's a saint?
Oh, yeah, 'cause I know I will.
Okay, then we got contractual services on the bottom. Everything looks pretty
Yeah, I don't-
straightforward.
Yeah, I didn't, most of that stuff, I didn't change much. We had a couple of things. Building and grounds is normally 80,000. We had a couple of units and an ice machine that went out this year that cost, but 80's our normal round that we try to stay within on our maintenance and stuff. And I think pretty much everything else I just kept as the same as last year.
Everybody keeps asking for that crunchy ice, that
That's
you
it.
used to have.
Yeah, you gotta keep that thing or get run out of town.
All right. All right. Any questions on page 29? Moving on to page 30.
That's a good question, because I know that having been at the senior center a lot this year, hadn't been a lot of activities happening. Are they going to be able to get back to that?
Yeah, we've been having about 20 to 25 that have been kind of coming pretty regular and
Yeah.
all. We've had a few, unfortunately, that have been sick and have
Yeah.
not been able to, but it's, the chair aerobics and some of that stuff has picked back up.
Okay.
And all compared to what it had been. I think probably last month was our best month, and all we had anywhere from 25 to 28 coming, so that's been pretty good for us up till now, so.
Okay.
What is, Berkeley, what's the park activity, the 220, is that?
That's all of our programs that
All
we
the
do.
programs.
I mean, we love Homewood Day, basketball, youth basketball, flag football, everything.
So
All of
that's-
our.
We're paying for all the people
Yeah.
who are doing that, okay.
Basically, everybody that's participating, and that's taking care of uniforms. I mean, they get we have a fee that comes back to us, but it covers that, officials for softball, basketball, all of that stuff. So it's pretty much everything with that. And then this year, we were fortunate, we started a girls volleyball program that's been going pretty good, and so we're excited about it. But that's what the main thing out of it is. It covers all of that stuff, plus our special events that we host.
Great. Okay.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Fleet maintenance, page 31. Contractual services at the bottom. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on to page 32, other expenses. Pretty small expenditures here, but everything together is, we're keeping the level request for those at 13.4.
How long have you been?
30 something years.
More than 32. I mean, he said, we talked about the other day, I don't remember, he's been there a long time. Then we were talking about, he even mentioned he's losing money working. Said, you must love your job.
All right. Any questions there? All right, we're moving on to traffic light maintenance. These are, we're gonna come into some smaller departments here in terms of, expenditures, got supplies.
Quick question.
Yes.
Berkeley, doesn't Alabama Power do most of the maintenance now? No, not traffic lights, they just do street lights.
Yeah, they just do street lights.
Sorry.
All it is, all of that's traffic lights.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving on, page 34, maintenance contracts. That is, again, level funding. Have a great birthday. She's already had it. She's not even listening to us. Exactly. That's the right thing to do. All right. Well, shoot, we're just having so much fun. Okay, moving on to page 35. Basically, cash with traffic light maintenance. So let's go to page 37. Under maintenance. We've got the train contract there, and then this and Krupp. So we officially have 3 different elevators within the city. So any questions on any of that? Okay. All right, we're moving on to IT. Fund 27. Contractual services. You can see the.
Who is currently doing this?
Me, Robert, Justin, Bush. Today I told Berkeley that I was handling a problem we had on Encode, that the city was in my capable hands, and then Berkeley said, "You mean your capable hands?"
Right, that's true. You do only have one working hand at the moment.
But we're sharing it at the moment.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah.
You were wrong for that.
Yes, Mayor.
I just want to, it was talked about, mentioned, by the fire department that the, Sprint under the utilities, I think is on the next page, but I just want to make sure that you guys talk about it. That the, under the internet TI, Sprint for the police and fire, they're having trouble with that, and they may need to swap it. It won't be that much more money, for the contract itself, but I do want, Broadhead to talk about it. Give you guys some information.
What page are you on?
It's on page 38 at the bottom.
Oh, the bottom of 38, okay.
Sorry, it's page 43 in my book.
Okay, we
But
have
got you
reprinted
the-
it. Sorry.
So you have the special look. Okay.
We ready?
Yes.
Okay, so if you know that T-Mobile purchased Sprint, they made a merger. Our Sprint Data Link network, which is our VPN network for all city police and fire mobiles, is obsolete. It's going away at the end of this month. So that left us kind of in a scramble. We learned about this about a month before Yates' retirement, and now we're scrambling to figure out what we're gonna do. So we have 2 companies competing right now, NetMotion and T-Mobile's Control Center. Both of those are gonna be slightly more than the Sprint. We're looking at maybe $1,000, but I believe that we will be able to cut that out of our wireless communications in other areas. So I really don't want to increase it right now, because I think we can cut that from somewhere else. Going with NetMotion will allow us to use standard internet at home to remote back in the city, which will allow me, some of the police officers, to cut off some mobile air cards that we have. So I think the cost itself, I'll just have to move some money around a little bit later when we figure it out, is not going to be that much more. We're looking at about $8,500 a year versus $7,200. I think we can take that out of wireless communications by cutting off devices, since we will be able to remote in using home internet. We won't need as many mobile cards. We did have a test today with NetMotion with the police car cameras. It was successful, so they're doing a 30-day proof of concept for us. As long as that proof of concept works and they do everything we want, we can also replace the city's VPN software that Ms. Salter and Mr. Burgett were using to get back in during the COVID time. NetMotion will do that for them. The cost for that, for their department, would be $120 a year for a license fee. But they wouldn't need a special internet card. They could use any internet. And a little success story for me, I was camping in Bibb County when the evacuation stuff happened in Louisiana. I was able to go plug into some router in Bibb County, remote back into my computer here, and work from there, instead of having to drop everything we're doing and drive back to the city. So it'll give us a lot more capabilities for very little money. And I think overall we'll save some money by being able to cut off some devices, because we're pretty device rich right now in the city, because every device on the Sprint network has its own card. So,
Got it.
Well, and I know for y'all two, that's probably really good news.
What we're using to remote back in now, it's about a $600 a year fee, and
Yeah.
it is.
Doesn't work.
I can walk faster than that thing.
Yeah.
so I'm not sure where that money's coming from, so that's why I'm saying,
That's out of our membership.
I don't want to ask that we add money there. We may come back and ask that you move it from another line item.
Okay, okay.
'Cause I think
So
we'll
no
absorb it
additional expense.
somewhere else. But proof of concept should be done in the next 20 days, and then we'll come back with a contract. We want to go with this company. Here's the finalized price.
Thank you. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, moving on to finance. 29, it's on page 40.
Yes.
Professional services. Any questions? The auditing fee was due to the ARCA grant money and single audit. Under the notes, you can see that.
And I can't remember, the company that's auditing now, they'll do it for the next 2 years, is that right? They did this year, and they'll do 2 years? We don't have to redo a new company every year, but.
Well, the mayor selects the auditors for professional services.
Right.
And this will be their third year.
Okay.
Of them doing it, and, I know that we've talked about looking at another firm.
Okay.
Because it's a good idea to change every 3 or 4
Yeah,
years.
right, okay. I knew that, I couldn't remember if that was new or old, okay, good.
Yep.
We had actually mentioned trying to look at another firm this year, but we just had so many things going on, and we're already too far into the year.
We used Car Rigs before that.
Yes.
Remember that? Okay. Any questions? Okay, moving on to page 41, maintenance contracts. Got a Meritech, Iron Mountain. Post, all those, pretty straightforward there. All right. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I believe that's it.
Mr. Johnson, can I
Yes.
bring up one issue, please?
We don't want issues, sorry.
Is it gonna cost us money?
Well, yes, it is, and it's my mistake, and I apologize. On the Sims Garden expenditures in general fund 0111,
Yeah, that went down to 20,000.
that's a mistake. That should not have changed. I made the mistake. She requested 30, and I didn't put 30.
I thought that, I could have sworn that we, in our meeting, that she was requesting 20. Did she request 30?
She requested 30 for Sims Garden
Okay,
expenditures.
I missed that too, because, well, I did too, but.
It was it was a typography. It's my mistake.
Okay.
It's on page 7 of y'all's book.
7, page 7. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to, adjust the Sims Garden funding from 20,000 to 30,000.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Smith, second by Mr. Harden, to amend that to 30,000. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. So that's approved 4-0. All right. That's the general fund, right there. So, in our remaining time together, we're gonna look at capital. Is everybody up for it? No, we were to 6:30 tonight, weren't we?
Yes, sir.
Let me look on my sheet.
It's 6:30.
We're close.
We're in 3. You're going to 3.
That's right. Okay, behind tab 9, here we are. So what we'll try to do, we'll try to go over, does somebody want to go over our big projects and just kind of highlight some of them?
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know what Robert did, but I was gonna tell you, a lot of the bigger projects, we moved to Fund 26 on this one. We said about that earlier, because we're using that money that we got from the bond refi. So you, it's going like we don't have any projects until we get to 26.
Okay, well, let's see if we can get through some of these. On page 2, let's see now, page 3 are the, so you're gonna have to tell us which ones have moved.
And we've taken out of the capital projects and moved to Fund 26, which is our construction fund. We moved the Greenway 2 construction and design.
Okay, so that's moved.
That was $1,250,000. The Lakeshore Diamond Interchange, $2.8 million. The
Hold on
Green
a second,
Springs
let me,
revitalization.
hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me just look at this, let me make a note on each.
If you'll look behind tab 17.
I think we made a note too, if you
Go to
look at
page 2.
the old account number, we should have made a note that said we reclassed it to Fund 26.
Behind tab 17?
Yeah, that's where the Fund
Yes, sir.
26 is.
And aren't we gonna, for the Diamond Interchange, we're gonna put 2.8 million in?
We did.
We're only
It's on
paying 1.4, but we're gonna budget this year 2.8 million.
2.8, okay.
Yes, sir. So it's ARPA money. We want to make sure it doesn't get spent. We'll have it available.
Okay, so
Bond
you,
refund, I'm sorry,
okay,
bond.
see,
The Diamond Interchange, Green Springs revitalization. It's $2,530,500. And then, those are the ones that were moved out of.
It's on tab 17, Ms. Smith, that's what it's
Yeah, I know, but like, so I'm looking at it on the list.
Page 2, it's on page 2.
page 2, so you've got Greenway 2 construction. Is that in this year? So that is budgeted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the interchange, you got 2.8 right there. We're on page 2 behind tab 17. Green Springs revitalization, 2.53. Okay. And those are the only ones, right?
Yes, sir.
That
Those
have
are,
been
that's
moved.
6.5 million, and that's the bond money we got refunded was 6.41. So that's what you're seeing.
Got it, okay.
So we're hoping Green Springs, when it gets bid, so if y'all decide to do the out office on there and that other connections, that it won't be that much. But if we have to go over 100, we still got that other tax pool money that's in there too. But we're hoping.
Okay.
And Dr. we took, the mayor, well, last year, the current budget we're in, I'm saying last year, I think that's what we did. We had Greenway in, but we took Greenway out because we couldn't get to it. But, we had Greenway in and it was out this year and now it's put back in for this next year, for the one y'all looking at right now. But for this year, the current year, fiscal year, it was not budgeted.
But do we have the ability, every year we talk about being able to do it, and then we've got right-of-way acquisition issues. We've got-
So I can actually answer that.
Okay, can you answer that?
So I actually talked with Keith Strickland last week, and we are ready to be moving forward with that. There are a couple more hurdles, but it looks like that we will actually be making progress this year, that we will be paying money this year, that we will, start seeing work done this year. It will not be like the previous years.
I've heard that before.
I understand.
This is accurate, so don't shoot the messenger. I understand.
I understand, but we're going to get regular updates on that as well as 18th Street, so that we are sure that if something does get off schedule, that we will know that it's getting off schedule before we hit next year's budget.
So 18th Street, we have gotten everything we need, the post office and everything, and we can move forward?
Yes, we've gotten all the easements, and now we're just, we're working on some paperwork with AlDOT that, and I expect we will have an update in just a few weeks about where we are with that.
And I think the Virgin Diamond, unless Cal got something different than I did, they're scheduled to go to bid in December on the Virgin Diamond. If you got anything lately, just
And it's a,
That's
it's
the
a
last
let,
I heard, yeah.
is it a rebid with
Yeah.
lesser
Yeah, I think
scope?
there's supposed to be a pre-construction meeting later this month.
So I spoke to the consultant.
Yeah, come up here so Andrew can hear you.
So for the DDI, Diverging Diamond, the consultant said a couple of weeks ago, there are certain windows where they submit plans to AlDOT, and then AlDOT is able to bid those. So like for the October letting, they would have had to have submitted their plans by August, right? So right now, the goal is that they submit by October for the December letting. But Volkert said, who was the consultant on the job, the design firm, they've said that they haven't heard anything from AlDOT about scope to take out of the project. So they're just waiting at this point to hear from AlDOT if they're to remove anything, if they're just gonna submit the plans and rebid the same project. Right.
Well, it's not coming down. So, anyway, okay.
I think they were hoping for some material cost drop.
Okay.
And whether or not that's $2 million, I don't know, but I think one of the things they were looking at was for some
We
material
need
cost
4 million
drop.
less. That's what we need. Okay. Well, okay, so let's go back to.
I do have a question.
Tab 9, yes.
And going back to tab 9, the sidewalk projects, and just that, and I see the Forest Brook area that we've talked about quite frequently, and it's only engineering and design, and there's no construction put into the budget. And so, I mean, is there a reason why we're not trying to put
You
money
wouldn't
for
ever get
construction at this point?
construction on that. I mean, that's gonna take a while to design and.
Yeah, I think the thought is that that would come in the next budget simply because of timing, because, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying something incorrect, that is, the anticipation is that it's gonna take a while to design that, and we still have these projects that are before it to do construction.
Sure, I'm just saying, because if I look at Mecca, I see engineering cost, also there, and already some put out for construction as well.
Well, yeah, I think the reason, and I think Alex is right, because like Salter, I just met with Kale and Clark before this meeting, and, you know, we've been working on Salter for 3 years now, and we've just now got our drawings ready to go and hopefully bidding in October. So that's gonna be construction next year. But I would tell you that Forest Brook project, just the design alone is gonna take a long time.
I'll say this, though. If they get done early, I'd be happy to look at the budget about putting some construction money in.
I mean, I guess, you know, I would just like, you know, at the mid-year evaluation, really, depending on.
Yeah.
Because I understand that these things take time, but if for whatever reason, this is just something, I don't, this is the issue I hear the most about in Ward 2, Forest Brook sidewalks. And so.
But that's why, I mean, that's specifically why we put this in there as that item and not just sidewalks in general. So we put that in there for the Forest Brook area. And again, because we have some of these, the engineering and everything's already done, we're gonna go ahead and go to construction on those before we move. And most of the time, you know, you're gonna be bidding against other people that are doing it, so they may not even have the ability to start construction even if we had the engineering. So that's why I put it in the budget as engineering design first, and then if we can get to it, we'll start construction this year or next year. If not, then it goes into construction for the following budget year.
Right.
So based off of what we've seen, especially with these larger projects, they cannot be done. Engineering design and start of construction really can't be done in the same year, now that we're with these bigger projects.
Well, that was my question.
Can we just clarify what the scope of I mean, because I know for all of us, Forest Brook sidewalks is probably a pretty broad, I mean, that's a big area, so. Sure. I just didn't know if we were looking, and there's some low-hanging fruit, like along Delcris, where unfortunately a lady was clipped, about a month ago, which conceivably wouldn't take as much engineering cost and that sort of thing.
Sure,
So
but that's where you'll work with, the engineering department to figure out exactly where the best starting point is going to be. So, I mean, that's kind of where we have to begin this phase at one point. We can't just say it's going to be on Delcris now if that's not what actually makes sense. by the time
Sure.
we get to it. So, I mean, it's a conversation, and that's why it's gonna take a little while longer.
That was the whole, to figure out where we're going from, to start it, and how far you wanted to go, what end. Because, I mean, and I think Kel would agree, I mean, the cost savings, if we start just patching it, sure, you know, we're gonna spend more money doing that instead of formulating where we want to start from, which end, and then go from there, and either then break it up in phases, if you want to do 1, 2, or 3 phases, going from Barrier Road all the way to Deltas. I mean, it's got to be, you know, looked at, and I think in that aspect, from a cost standpoint, because if you just start, you say, well, let's do Deltas, because it's flat in some areas, the cost is going to be, you know, higher if you do it like that, instead of putting it into different packages and then going from there. So I would suggest that we, you know, once this year gets on, for you, Carl, let's all get together and sit down and begin to kind of phase in, you know, how we want to do it, where we want to start from and go.
Okay,
Yeah,
but the question I had was, this is the first time that I've seen where we have identified
Yeah.
projects for sidewalk. We've typically had a sidewalk project. So that's obviously deliberate, that we want to be laser focused on, these are the projects that we want to, that it will be completed. My question is, will that 50,000 that is in your budget, will that suffice for any sidewalks that we find that maybe we could easily work on? I remember in one meeting, I remember Greg Cobb saying, you know, we've gotten all the low-hanging fruit of flat places that need sidewalks. I mean, is that the case? Have we run out of all of those?
Well,
And
I will say this, I was just in my meeting with Clark, and he said all the easy sidewalks are done.
Okay.
Every sidewalk that we do from this point forward is hard, is going to require engineering, it's going to be a complicated design.
And I do think that I mean, at this point, it should not be prioritizing what's easiest and what's flattest, is what's most dangerous, because we have residents who are living in very dangerous streets with high traffic, high velocity roads. So I think that should be how we prioritize how we do these sidewalks. So to Berkeley's point, I agree with you completely in that we should be strategic and designing and engineering, right? But I mean, part of me just also thinks that, and I'll defer to you, to all of you, that we could still budget even if we don't get to it, right? And if we don't get to it, it rolls over to the following year. But I just would like to see a kind of commitment, because a budget is a kind of just a priority statement, right, to our residents and to the people who live here. So we don't get to it because we're trying to do that. But I would argue for trying to do it, right, as soon as possible.
I don't have, look, I lived there 12 years on Forest Brooks. I know. I mean, I've raised 3 kids over there. So, but I think, you know, getting together and my point is, and I think Kel would agree, is getting together and, you know, starting it and basically designing it out.
I agree.
Each side, I mean, because there's some areas over there, I mean, I looked at this 9-10 years ago, we looked at it. I mean, there's some areas gonna have to have retaining walls to it. I mean, this thing's probably one of the most in-depth projects, even more than what Salter is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because of that, I mean, that terrain over there is, I mean.
And to the point, I would also think about how we do engineering design. It is a difficult road, right? And I think that if we're just intentional and just make a commitment as to really giving sidewalk, not just the easiest part, right? Because that's the.
No, I agree with you.
So I
I
actually agree with your approach though, right? Because
Yeah.
if we do this right and connect, we can make that neighborhood a lot safer,
Yeah.
which makes it a lot more desirable, and that is good for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yeah, it's always a balance, because, I mean, I remember years ago, we talked about, well, let's just do certain project, and like, Salter has just been so frustrating, because it desperately needs it, but it's just so difficult to
Well,
engineer it.
I mean, let me just say, Clark has done an amazing job, but Cale can attest, it is not an easy road to sidewalk because of terrain and all the obstacles in the middle of the right of way.
That curve.
Well, and
You're
there's
talking about
power
danger,
poles in the middle of it, so there's a lot that goes into it, and I mean, like I said, we've been working on Salter now, with the exclusion of the part that's already done. We've been working on this for 2 years, 3 years, and we're just now to the point where, in that meeting, Clark said and Cale said, we think we might be able to go to bid like maybe late October.
Okay, so
if
Mr.
that-
Schmidt, can you check just to, I mean, I want a clear answer for Counselor Allamont on this. So for Forest Brook, I mean, can you find out, like, you know, what is the timeline that it would take to, you know, to engineer, design that? And is there a chance that we could start construction within the fiscal year? Could you find that out?
Yes.
Okay, okay, and then if they say, well, you know, we can do it, it'll take 9 months to design, and then we can get started soon thereafter, then we can put something within construction.
I appreciate that. Thank you,
Yeah,
Councilor Jones.
and I'll say this also, regardless of whether that's the case or not,
Then what- yeah,
that's
you-
the next project.
Yeah.
Regardless for construction, in my mind at least, is we get these other ones that came before it and were already on the books.
Yeah.
But that's the next project, period, regardless of when we budget the money. And I'm, at least for my part, willing to make that commitment now.
Well, I appreciate council support.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, now back to page 3. So we've got, so we do have, okay, so we took all those out. So we've got creek walls that is budgeted within 12, within 11,
We removed those.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's
Because we're
been-
getting money from the bond?
Why is it in here? Okay, the requested is 0. I see that. now.
Yeah.
We just
Okay,
the grants fund on ARPA when you go to grants.
okay.
Can I ask a quick question? Why do we still have a line item for the crosswalk at the Lakeshore Marriott? Because it's done.
Because it was probably because it was under the 5-year.
Because it's got some history.
There was-
You leave it in there because of
Yeah.
history.
It's
Gotcha,
showing, yeah.
gotcha,
There's no
gotcha.
budget money.
Yes, there is that $250.
Okay, so the only thing that's within here, we got 18th Street beautification.
See, all that ADM stuff that we, when you get to Fund 2, that's what's saying, all that got moved to ARPA so we could use that money.
Okay, and then, so you've got sidewalk repairs, so this is an additional, this is 50,000 for repairs, so this is not
Mostly for the
construction.
ADA stuff too, right?
Yeah,
The ADA falls in there.
I think the ADA falls under that, yeah.
And just to clarify, Counselor Jones, so we're on Fund 12, page 3 now, right?
Yeah,
Are we done with Fund 2, page 3?
you mean the ones that are in
The
that we've already gone
grants,
over the big
capital
ones?
projects?
Oh, we're not, yeah.
We hadn't done that yet, it was just that creek wall, you know, sometimes
Okay.
the creek walls used to be in, a lot of stuff that used to be in 12, 11 are either
Yeah.
moved to Fund 2 or Fund 26 just for this year, because it's weird, because we got all this ARPA money, and then we got the bond money, so.
Okay,
normally-
here's a question. I think this, if we can do this, could we have a spreadsheet that gives us all the capital project funds that are out there and where they're in, within the budget? Because
Yes.
to me, that makes it clearer.
It was on the, we can see, the mayor's PowerPoint sheet had the grants, the 26 and the capital, and we had it listed under his PowerPoint, but if that's how you want it laid out, we'll put it on Excel.
Yeah, I just want to see which ones are in.
You want a list of the projects.
I want a list of the projects
Projects, and
that
then
we know, and
we
and
can
I don't
figure
have
out
to
which
go-
fund they're in.
Exactly.
But he had it on the he had like Fund 2, and he had them listed, Fund 26, but we could put it on Excel.
That would be great.
Okay.
That would be great. I think that'll help to make sure we have everything, because I am getting confused kind of going back and forth, so.
That's one thing I was trying to say too, was I was like, capital's gonna be weird this year, because it's normally never that complicated.
There might be a spreadsheet right here, later in hand. Okay, let's see.
And just wanted to say, the reason I was asking too, because in Fund 2, in that tab, I did have a question, but I wanted to make sure we hadn't moved on from it yet. But as it relates to the storm sewer project.
See, storm sewer would have normally been
Okay,
in
so yeah,
12
one of your,
too.
okay, so yeah, you did present, the general obligation warrant construction fund with Greenway, Diamond Interchange, Green Springs revitalization. Then we've got, okay, then we've got the capital projects highlights. So these are the ones that are not the warrant fund, okay, so that's 18th Street, beautification, Sanford Park, Pocket Park, sidewalk construction and design, okay. This is great, thank you. Okay.
Ms. Salter, Mr. Burgett, y'all know that the federal budget's apparently gonna send us a bunch of money for infrastructure coming at us. So just be aware of that. I'm sure you have to go to 6 classes to learn how we can spend it, but.
Well, it's got to pass.
Yeah, well, you're right, good
Well,
answer.
part of that was that ARPA, as far as all that ADM stuff that we could.
But
use.
the infrastructure bill's
Yeah.
even bigger.
Yeah.
So
You're gonna have to put some money in here for taking classes on how to spend the federal money.
You know, I'd love to
Exactly.
take classes, so I'm all in.
Okay, so then we've got, sidewalk construction here, so we'll get you an answer on the, Forest Brook. Then we've got, Sims Garden is in here as well. And Rosewood Hall
On page 3.
on page 4.
Page 4, sorry, page 4.
So do we need to budget any more for Rosewood Hall? I thought we had some additional maintenance that needed to be done. Okay.
Okay, and then the 92 for Sims Garden, that's gonna be for the water mediation, is that what that is? The remediation for the runoff, is that what that is?
Because I think she had a budget
It's
this
for
year.
a walking path, an ADA compliant.
It's, okay, it's for the plan, it's for that improvement
It's like
plan.
a carryover because of the spending freeze, she didn't get to use it this year.
Okay, so that's really just money that was already in the budget that's
Keith Strickland
rolling.
did a little bit of invoicing for it, I think,
Yeah.
on the design, but then we were on spending freeze.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, so are there any, is there any feedback on, is there a project that we've missed, or is there a project we need to take out? Any feedback on that? Because,
And I wanna make sure, I know y'all done this well, that all the federal money we're getting, that we're able to spend it, in other words.
It's also gonna be spent.
Yeah, okay. I just don't want.
We don't normally have an
I
issue.
mean, we're not gonna have, I don't think, times like this again, at least I hope not, so.
But we're supposed to get, we'll go get hopefully another 3 million year after next, but the budget, when you get to the grants fund, we're gonna spend all of it, plus what y'all are hopefully gonna pass Monday for the pay, I'm just calling it pay, I'm not saying what kind of pay, for a one-time additional pay for the employees.
Okay.
Between that and what's in the budget, it will be spent, yes, sir. The first one that we've already got.
Counselor Jones, so looking at the storm sewer line item for Fund 12, it's $100,000 in the current budget. It's $400,000 in Fund 2, so that's $500,000 for stormwater related items. The ones in Fund 2 are designated by project. In this line item in Fund 12, the $100,000, do we know specifically what that's for, and does that include the prospect of also analyzing our stormwater system and having basically a report on it?
Two people that Mr. Smith.
Need to answer that question.
Mr. Smith.
Some of those are repairs, we're not doing that.
Yeah, I think it is both, some repairs and that, but I'm waiting. Dale.
Because don't we have the emergency ones?
That's okay. I apologize. Is the $100,000 that's in Fund 12 for storm sewer and drainage, is part of that for analyzing and figuring out sort of a plan?
There's not 100,000 budget for next year.
That was this
We took
year's
it out.
budget.
Oh, that's correct, that's this year's budget.
Oh,
That's this year's
that's my
budget.
oversight,
I'm
yes.
sorry, in the Fund 2, is part of that for the analyzing and figuring out a plan, is that where that money is?
Yeah, it should be there.
It was on that sheet that you wrote
That's
down.
that's in the
Storm
grants
sewer,
fund,
and
right?
Leslie had some he was doing.
Okay, yes,
too.
Sure.
So if we could pay attention to the mayor's presentation, this would be a lot better. Under the ARPA.
All that hard work, man.
Under the
All
ARPA,
that
I mean.
hard work. It's okay.
Mayor, we
And
came
you
down
didn't
the
even do it on the
weekend to
night
do
we
it.
had the public hearing. That would have really been great. So, yeah, the creek, okay, Griffin Creek dredge clean, 270,000. Creek wall repairs, 151,000. And then Old Montgomery Highway Road, 350. Storm sewer drain, 980. And then a possible chiller.
Yeah, and that's the 980 has that number in there.
In that, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So just to,
That includes the projects that we already know from Berkeley's and Kale's standpoint, plus.
You did a great job man, that PowerPoint presentation.
Does that
It
answer
is
your
also
question?
like-
sorry, Mayor, that I wasn't paying attention to that. So just,
No, I'm the one.
so I
that-
see the specific projects, but is the system, is the analyzation of the system also?
In that 980.
That's in the 980.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ms. Coachman, see, like, I think this year we put the 100 in, the current, not the budget y'all looking at, but the current year, but we didn't really make it specific, but because of the ARPA money, they tried to specify exactly what it was, because we're gonna have to prove that we could use the ARPA money for that. So he like tried to make it specific as much as we could of what he was doing, if that makes sense.
And Mr. Sims, I was more laughing at myself because, not you, so. So anyway, okay, and I promised, Ms. Smith, we would finish at 6:30, so we're a minute over. So, do I have a motion to approve the projects that have already been mentioned?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Smith, second by Mr. Harden, and then we'll get a list of those, just make sure we're all up to speed on that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. That's
just
4-0.
So-
And then we're,
Carlos just said aye to going in the Marines. You're starting tomorrow.
so we're gonna,
Paris Island, baby.
all right, we're gonna continue this until next Tuesday. Is it Tuesday or
Yes, sir, Tuesday.
next Tuesday?